Artists are a fascinating bunch, aren't they? And who came up with the myth? The struggling artist. I don't know if it was Michelangelo. It could have been the painter of the Sistine Chapel. You know, he spent his entire life living kind of like a miser and a pauper. He rarely wanted to change his clothes. Some say that it was attached to him. He's kind of smelled. Maybe it's where we got the eccentric artist. And yet, when he passed away, despite having lived like he was so poor and desolate, recent research in the last decade has let us know that he was actually probably worth about $50 million in today's standards. Not bad for an artist. When we think about an entrepreneur, I would love to just peel back your brain and just see what you think about when you think about an entrepreneur. They're driven people. They're usually successful, and by golly, if they're not successful on the first round, they will be on the fifth. There's always a new idea. But when over the last 10 years, I have spent building businesses and being an artist. And I found that through these two things that seem like they're worlds apart, they're actually not at all. Both the artist and the entrepreneur they're very familiar with hardship, taking risks, and being vulnerable. And both of them fundamentally create out of need. For the entrepreneur, the best ideas, the most successful ideas, come when you can identify an external need in the market, preferably a niche, and then you fill that need, and magic happens. For the artist, we also create out of need, but it's this internal need. And just before we get too far, and you think I'm just talking to artists, how many of you have a Pinterest board that says things I want to create? Okay, we're going to include you in this because those two, if you are a creative person, and whether that means that you are baking, or you are woodworking, or you are just creating a beautiful home, or whatever it might mean, I think we all have creativity inside of us, and so this is for you. Can I just briefly share with you the story of how I became an artist? Because I never thought I would ever be an artist. I couldn't draw a straight line. Well, all through my 20s, I was engaged to a high-profile federal politician in Canada, and I had spent all those 20s helping him build and grow and be seen in his political career. And there I was. I had it all. And yet, I heard this whisper that said, you've gained the whole world, but you've lost your soul. Made the decision to leave. And when I left, I realized, who am I? I have no idea. My family thought, well, you're pretty good at photography. And I thought, okay, I'll see what photography can do. Well, it turns out that I'm a photographic artist, and I can now say that after about 10 years of doing this thing, I can call myself that. I happened to meet a man in the Low Country. He has like blue eyes and a crooked smile. He's great. And I thought, okay, well, I'll marry you, but I'm comfortable in my banking job. I really like the perks. And don't you know, bankers get more holidays than anybody else? And so I lined up a similar position here. This is the story of how I became an entrepreneur. Well, the perfect job in this new perfect little land, in this perfect little marriage, didn't end up so hot. Because within a month and a half, somebody in corporate had a bright idea to do a reduction in force for the job they just hired me from. Not networked. Kind of scary place to be. So I had a chance to ask myself this question: what if? My favorite words, what if? What if I take what I've learned in business and what I've learned as an artist, and I combine them together? Can I create something valuable? This is how I became an artrepreneur. Not an entrepreneur, an artrepreneur. Sometimes we've got to walk through the doors that just make no sense. I mean, all the doors that make the most sense have closed. And so you walk through the one where you're white knuckle gripping. Because I want to tell you, I wish I could tell you that this whole journey, I just did this with gusto and stilettos. You know, I'm a nature photographer. You will never see me in stilettos. And I didn't. I had a white knuckle grip of fear, and I just jumped. And sometimes, as a creative person, you just have to jump and you just have to leave. And I hope that today, my goal is that you're going to ask yourself this what if question. What if you took this next step that requires a little bit of grit and you succeed? Because I think that you will. Here's the thing. We've already established that entrepreneurs have to find a need, an external need, and they've got to fill it. So the first thing you're probably thinking is, Tiffany, the little bit that I do in that remote little place in my home will never fill anyone's need. Not quite. Because everybody in this room right now has at least 3 needs, at least one of these. You have a need to be inspired. You have a need and want to be educated, and you have a need and a want to connect. And I want to share today that I believe that the things that you are creating in sacred places can be used to fill those needs that you have or the needs of those around you. Can I tell you what I found, the common thing between all of the people that I'm so fortunate to coach and mentor? They all share one thing in common: self-doubt. I was queen of self-doubt. So you're in comfortable company. But we've got to overcome the negative self-talk, and we've got to get beyond all of the I can'ts. Because there's 2 types of creative people or artists: those who create and hide their work, and those who will actually share it with others. We're our own worst critic. And here's the thing, your art will never be perfect in your own eyes. It never will. I think that's probably a trademark of the artist, because we're going to develop our creative pieces to this point where we can just let them breathe, rest and sit. But the work of creativity is evolutionary. And as you are evolving as a person, your creativity is going to evolve. Things that need to grow can't do so in a locked up closet. Because the thing is that everything that grows needs light and it needs oxygen. So don't hold back your work from the world, no matter what it is, until it's perfect. People can't buy and see what they can't touch, what they can't experience. Did you know that you have an artist's signature? You do. I bet you didn't even know that, did you? You do. You have one. And I want to say that your artist's signature, I'll tell you what it is in a minute. I think it's the most valuable part of you. I think it's as important as your fingerprint. Because nobody else is going to be like you. And nobody's going to be able to create like you. And your artist signature is created up of 3 things: your personality, your experiences, and your creative work that flows out of those first 2 things. And I'm going to also bet to say that the things that you've created, that those out of the hard places, that those are probably your most valuable and meaningful pieces. And I'll bet you that they have the most to say. I think it's out of those broken places and what you create out of them that's going to be the most important part of you as an artist and as your artist signature. Here's the secret. To do this thing and make a viable business, we have to create a connection and we have to extend an invitation. Create a connection, extend an invitation. So we're going to shift this posture of just creating for ourselves, and you're now going to create for others around you, knowing that your art will fill the need. And when you do this, you're going to focus on inspiring, educating, and connecting with those around you. So when you have a new idea, you're birthing a new idea, you can share that with everyone around you. Share what makes you inspired. Share your wonder and your curiosity, because it's going to invite people into doing that with you. There's an artist on Instagram. I just love to follow her because she'll share her vision boards. Golly, I love some vision boards. And then she'll share what she's doing when she's mixing this color and this color with her paint, and what brush she's using. And what she's doing, she doesn't even realize it. She's educating me because I'm thinking, how's she making that brush stroke? How is she doing that? And then once it's completed, don't you know I want to buy her work? Because I've been with her in that journey. I was there when she made the vision board. I was there and I watched as she did that stroke. And I want to take it home. Because with the publishing of a new book, that writer, they're inviting you to escape. We all want to escape. When a baker is formulating a new cupcake recipe, they're inviting you to taste delight. And with a painter, they're inviting you to take beauty into your home. Create the invitation, find and fill the need, and create the connection. And here's the thing, stop waiting for permission. You've got everything that you need to succeed. We used to have to wait for publishers to publish our work. Well, we don't have to do that anymore. Sorry, gallery owners, we no longer have to wait for you to hang our work on your walls, although we would really like it if you want to. We don't need it. Thank you, Etsy. There's nothing stopping us. There's nothing holding us back as artists. It's all on us to make the connection. Maybe you're a new mom and you are a creative person and you are just struggling to create during nap time and diapers. But maybe you're an older person and you've had a successful career in corporate America. That's over and now you're thinking, who am I? What's this next phase? Can I just, off notes, tell you something? To those people who are in retirement, I love working with you. You want to know why? Because you guys are amazing. And the things that you're creating in your retirement years are going to be sacred to your family. Invite people to your story. Invite them to that journey. You don't need permission. You just have to get started. My last point is this: build the business, guard the art. We have to go into our creative space to actually do this thing, right? It's the place where we hide away, nobody's judging us, we're exploring wonder and curiosity, and we take the risks to bring something beautiful to the world. But a successful entrepreneur is going to balance internal creativity with external engagement in their business. And this is really important because here's the secret. I'm going to tell you I found it out. Are you ready? The secret is this: you cannot build a viable business without a hustle. If they tell you you can, they're lying. Here's the threat. The hustle has the power to kill your creativity. And I've experienced this. One of the most vital parts of my creativity and a lifeblood to my business is learning to balance being an artist and balance being a successful business owner. So initially, when I started, I set aside time for my business. And it felt like I was trudging through mud and I really didn't want to do it because I couldn't get the traction. But then one day, momentum starts building and all of a sudden I'm rolling and I'm thinking, I'm doing this thing. This is actually happening. But watch out, because there's a shift that happens and nobody told me, and I'm here to tell you about this. The shift happens when you have the momentum and you're going, and all of a sudden you're no longer an artist because you can't remember the last time that you actually took time for creative space and made something new because the business has taken over. Know that that's coming. Expect your success because it is going to come. You've got to guard your art because first and foremost, you're an artist. In closing, we hear a lot about authenticity. Why is that? Because it's so desperately important. If you want to make that connection, be authentic. Don't just share your triumphs. Share those really hard places. Share the painting that you just painted because you were a hot mess crying in your place of creativity. Or share the story that was born through real heartache, because that's going to invite others to connect with you. It's really, really hard to connect with perfection. And I don't know about you, but I just don't want to. I think there's some artists in this room, some creative people that were here just to hear this message. And if you're in this room and it's resonating with you at all, I just want you to know that I believe in you, and I absolutely know you have what it takes to be an artist. I know that everything that you need to know about being an entrepreneur is at your fingertips, and you have everything it takes. Don't hold back in the dark the things that you're creating, the sacred things, because the world needs those, and the world needs your voice. Thank you.